Pop recently released Season 2, Episode 11 of Helluva Boss.
Okay, let's go.
This show that has such a stranglehold on me. If you've been watching the series, you know how excited I was to do Has Been Hotel, and this is the same creative team. So it was awesome to see that it won our free weekly Patreon poll.
Missed it by that much.
That poll has brought us stuff like Poppy Playtime, Undertale, Bendy and the Ink Machine, all sorts of great stuff that I got to learn about along the way of making into Pokemon. But Helluva Boss, that's one that I knew. It's one of the few shows that I genuinely wait watching countdown clocks for the newest episodes to roll out. So without much further ado, I'm really excited actually to hop into this video. Thanks, stranger who's entered my home. I'm the Thesterninator, my friends call me Stern. Welcome to the channel, so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff that makes YouTube really happy, and let's hop into it. To start out, I wanted to work with mainly the group behind Imp, that being the immediate murder professionals from the show, and started with their newest inductee. If you haven't seen episode 11 yet, stop, go watch that, come back after, because there's going to be some spoilers, especially starting with this section right here. Take your time, I'll be right here. Okay, we back? You good? You saw the episode? What'd you think? Did you like it? Let me know down in the comments actually what you thought about the latest episode. I am a huge fan, and I wanted to start out with Stolas, mainly as this cute little owl. Why? Because cute little owls are insanely fun to draw, so I wanted to make it a two-stage line, really focusing in on something akin to those flashbacks that we see with Stolas from time to time, back when he was just a little fluffy down nestling. And yeah, I just went nuts. Very easy, very simple design. I wanted it to feel very similar to like your early route bird Pokemon. That being small, round, squishy, and yeah, it's very simple of a design because I knew that we were going to get a lot more complicated as we move forward. I've said this with Pop's designs before. They're insanely complex, and that can have some positives, some negatives, but I wanted to start out with something simple. Throughout this episode, this video, this series, I am going to kind of work on how to simplify a lot of those aspects, sometimes even changing the entire design of a character, but mainly sticking with the vibe and energy that that character puts out. That's kind of my precursory warning about this video is you may look at a character and say, but that doesn't look like so-and-so at all. Kind of ask, does it capture the vibe? Does it capture their energy? Does it remind you of them? When I started out doing this channel, I kind of hopped in feet first with Elden Ring characters as Pokemon, and I learned that really quickly. You can't often capture the exact proportions and design ideas of the character, but you can capture kind of what makes them them in personality, as well as keeping a lot of those main aspects in your back pocket. And so this is Olis, the fledgling Pokemon. It is a fairy flying type, and for the shiny I wanted to capture kind of the coloring of Stolas' wife, or ex-wife, with that snowy type of color. It's the fairy flying type, probably could have gone psychic, but I wanted to keep that cosmic type of vibe, and fairy really seemed to fit that type of energy. I don't know, maybe I made a mistake there. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. As we move forward, Olis does evolve, and I used that kind of to get that more stocky type of shape for the character that Stolas is kind of known for. He's huge, he is towering, and maybe that's just because imps are super small, but watching the show through the perspective of these characters, he always feels just massive. Another thing to be brought up with these designs is it would be very easy to say they're all going to be dark type and they're all going to be demonic and they're all going to be scary in all these different ways. I didn't necessarily want to do that. I wanted to create some variation to the characters that allowed them each to exist as their own and not in this big amalgam of dark types. So that's why this one is Flying Fairy. I feel like it works in a lot of aspects, and while I'm sure there are other ways that this could have been achieved, this is the one that I went with and I'm pretty happy with it. I wanted to base this not on Stolas just being redrawn by me, but as a Pokemon inspired by the character. Not just by the character, but by the mythology behind Goetia. So I looked up and researched and found a lot of details on what these bird-type demon things were meant to represent and what they look like and how that influenced the show and then in turn influenced me. I wanted to incorporate some of the royalty. I wanted to incorporate some of the iconography of Stolas the character. For example, Stolas has 4 red eyes. I didn't necessarily want to do that in this design because I felt like that would make it far too demonic, far too in the realm of all the other characters of this video just being demons and evil. And yeah, I could make them all UBs or something adjacent, but I decided instead to utilize the plumage of this owl to make these feathers that look like an extra set of eyes. Maybe it's used to ward off predators, maybe it's used to further intimidate prey. But regardless, I feel like it captures the prompt without just mimicking the prompt. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's something that I had going on in my head, was how to make this design feel like it's an owl inspired by Stolas and not just Stolas drawn in a Pokemon style. I think it works and allowed us to come up with Stolas. Stolas is obviously a mix of Stolas and Owl. It is a fairy flying type, and it is the broad wing Pokemon. You can see in its shiny, it has a lot of those colors from the other Goetia, that being that icy blue. Maybe if I do the wife at some point, I'll make it ice type. Moving on, I wanted to capture the rest of Imp. And while they all have very similar design aspects to them, I wanted them to feel distinct, yet still connected in some way. So I came up with this pre-evolution that turns into one of 3 different imps. It's just this fun little mix of characters kind of brought together, and I don't know, it felt like it was this really good base form. Problem is, Impidimp already exists as an imp Pokemon, so I wanted to do something different while still capturing a little bit of the familiar shapes and design language that we recognize with those type of characters. I wanted it to feel mischievous and also have this weird energy to it, because I feel like since it is a character that can evolve into one of 3 different forms, it should have this potential to it. I've said that before, that Pokemon shouldn't feel like they just get bigger. I feel like that's very much a Digimon aspect. Make them bigger, give them guns, give them ripped jeans, give them steel aspects to them. Pokemon doesn't run in that same race. Pokemon is very much, the way I see it, about stored potential. It's not about getting bigger as much as it is about aspects of the initial design being the potential for what could come in the next. So with this one, I wanted to introduce a lot of those things, giving it these black areas, giving it these striped horns, and this big devilish grin and these energized eyes that are going to carry through into the other designs. But the potential starts here with Immerp, a play on Immediate Murder Professionals. Immerp is a dark type. I told you we were going to get to it. For its shiny and with a lot more of those devilly colors, moving away from those slight purples into more of those orangish, reddish hues. When looking at the 3 imps of Immediate Murder Professionals, I think that it's no conversation, no need for argument, that Millie is the best. Don't at me, don't come at me in the comments, because this isn't my opinion, this is just a fact. She's voiced by Erica Lindbeck, who also actually voices Luna, which I learned in this video. I'm sure someone's gonna come and say, yeah, Doi, didn't you know? No, I didn't. Super surprised to learn that, because that accent throws me. Millie is this berserker style fighter, assassin type of character, and I wanted to hit a lot of that manic energy with this design. She has a lot of tears and rips to her costume as well, so I wanted to bring those in while still making this thing feel feral. This is one of 3 different versions that our Immerp can evolve into, and so I carried over a lot of those things. I carried over that devilish grin, giving it that little gap in the teeth, which is lovely, as well as bringing in her axe. Her big battle axe is portrayed in her tail that she swings around wildly. I can imagine it very much that berserker rage that we see Millie kind of put out across different characters, whether they be other imps, humans, or even lords of the realm themselves. I specifically remember her going up against Asmodeus and thinking, wait, whoa, hold on, I don't think you're allowed to do that. So yeah, I really, really dig Millie, one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character, and every time we get to explore her story, I am delighted even further. So this was a very fun character to draw. I even made sure to make sure that the rings on the horns were narrower, because that seems to be kind of the concept that they go with for defining the difference between male and female imps, is those slight differences to the horns. And so we have Millimp, Dark Fighting. Obviously a play on Millie and Imp. The shiny fits that same criteria that we had for the previous version, and her total stat is 485. We'll see that carry through across all of these different Imp evolutions. But what is Millie without Moxie? I guess the better question is, what is Moxie without Millie? I think Millie's fine without him, but she loves him, and I love him too. He's a great character, voiced by Richard Stephen Horvitz, who you know from probably everything. He's a very talented voice actor who appears throughout a ton of stuff, including Billy and Mandy, where he played Billy, of all characters. Very talented guy, and really brings this energy to Moxie. I will say it took me a little bit of time to get into Helluva Boss, because the moment that I heard Moxie speak, I realized, oh, so this is just a Hot Topic hodgepodge where we're having Invader Zim as a character. And then I kind of watched the rest a couple weeks after that and realized, oh no, this is just a really good show that really deserves a chance. So I watched it, I fell in love with the show immediately, and the concept of Moxie being this mafioso-related sharpshooter is so cool, especially when you take into the fact that he's like the accountant as well. He's such a three-dimensional character and so fun to turn into Pokemon here. I played around with how I wanted to do this for quite some time, how to incorporate a gun into Pokemon, because it's two separate languages, but I feel like I made it work in ways that feel like it's compassionate to both areas of inspiration. And I also wanted to get his little coat, because he has a little coat. Also, fun thing that you may notice is I really brought in those backward legs to a lot of the designs. Of the imps, Moxie's actually the only one that has those backwards dog-like legs. And so in these designs, just to have some fun, to play around, I decided for him to be the only one that doesn't. Kind of flip that on its tail. Especially being a sharpshooter, I wanted him to feel very sturdy in this small Pokemon body that he has. So giving him the two legs to steady himself, especially with that big giant gun arm, felt like it worked. It was a way for me personally to balance out the design. I'm sure there are ways to balance it out other than that I could have done, maybe even making his tail into like a third leg, a tripod stand type of thing. I don't know, whenever I do these drawings and then I watch the videos, I always think, oh man, I should have done this, or it would have been cooler to do that. But ultimately I'm happy with the design for this one. This is Moximp, a dark steel type, taking that steel type inspiration for its ability to use its big gun arm, and Moxie's penchant for being able to use sniper rifles, and things of that type. And as far as voice actors are concerned, I will say Blitz's voice actor, Brendan Rogers, is absolutely the key factor in bringing me into the show. I have been a fan of Brandon's stuff for so long, and so hearing that he was voicing Blitz, that's what pulled me in. I thought, okay, I love this voice actor, I love their work, I love their live action stuff, may as well give it a shot, and boy am I glad that I did, because it's a great show, and Brandon Rogers as Blitz just elevates it to a new level. His performance is so varied from what I've known him for in his YouTube sketches. It's so different, and he's able to grab this aspect of the character that makes you simultaneously love them and hate them. And I like that Vivzy jumps into that. We get to explore that with the character, really using that talent of Brandon's that we haven't seen in a lot of other projects of his. He becomes a deep character as Blitz, and he loves the character so much. They recently did a Hot Topic commercial where he breaks in dressed fully as Blitz, and my life's dreams have been completed now. Seeing him as that character in costume with his full acting credibility as these types of characters, it was like, man, this is magic. I think this could work in a live action. I'm sure it won't, and I'm sure it can't. But in that moment, I became a bigger fan of his than I had been. Huge fan of the work that he does. He's not going to see this, but if he ever does or it gets to him, thank you so much for bringing so much joy and sparking this type of humor that you have specifically, Brandon. It really hits a nerve for me and allows me to feel something in my cold, dead heart. But for the design, I wanted to make sure that I captured kind of those lighter areas of the face where Blitz has those burn scars. and it broke up the pattern that I was going for on the other imps, but I couldn't go without it. It's so key to his character. It's one of those things that, like I said, when simplifying these designs, there's some things that you just can't get rid of. There's some things that just have to stay. You have to keep because they are pinpoints and they are definitive areas that make the character who they are. So this is Blitzim, Dark Ghost type. Ghost type for its teleportation and phantom-esque abilities, as well as the episode which's name I can't say on this channel, which was Season 2, Episode 10. Yeah. As we finish up with our team of imp employees, there's one that I could not forget, and that of course is Luna. Luna is a fan favorite. People love Luna. I think it's because of the design. A very specific sect of fans really seem to enjoy the character, and why not? She's a great character. She's written well. Again, voiced by Erica Lindbeck, the same voice actress for Millie. And yeah, I wanted to go with something that captured that cute puppy type of aesthetic, especially given what she'll turn into. This will be another 2-stage design, and there were so many aspects that I wanted to carry over. She has so many areas of her design that are just key. So I got this idea of doing the hair with the ear. So she has one floppy ear, much like puppies tend to have, that works kind of like that flopped over bang of her hair. But I also wanted to give her this big tail, and I feel like the weight of the head and the tail balance each other out really, really well. Maybe there'll be some sort of ability that she gets that's special to Luna and specific to that character, which I ask for in every video that I do. If you have an ability for these characters, whether that be one that exists or one that you come up with, let me know down in the comments below. I love reading those. You guys are so much better at abilities than I am. I'm not a competitive player. I just recently got into opening Pokemon packs, which I do on my second channel, link down below. First video for that drops Saturday, by the way, a little bit earlier than I'd been announcing. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what abilities you think these characters would or should have. I love hearing from you guys. I'm really big on communication between the fan base, so hop on into the Discord so that we can have conversation, and go down to the comments and let me know your thoughts. You guys are very, very, very much what make these videos possible. But back to Luna, I also had to capture those red eyes, and I think with all those cool colors of the tail and the body, having the eyes be that vibrant red just make them pop, and really makes that I'm so done with this type of energy that she's putting out come alive in the deadest way possible. So this is Lunarf. Luna and Arf, sounds that puppies make. It is a normal type, mainly because I wanted to drive away from the dark typing, but I know she could be a dark type as well. And while she is just a little pupper, she will grow. And I think now is a time that I really need to address the elephant in the room with Luna. I'm aware that she has a very specific fan base, and I know that that must be addressed because Pokemon has very similar fan bases for some Pokemon, and I'm going into this well aware that we've got some overlap here. That it kind of fits both niches, and there's a Venn diagram somewhere of what type of Pokemon Luna should be, and I just went, headlong into that. I said, why fight it? This is what the people want. If I did anything other than making our furry bait Pokemon Luna, I think there'd be riots in the streets. So that's what I ended up doing, and I think it works. I'm not a huge fan of the furry bait Pokemon as they've been called, the Zororas and the Lucarios of the world, but I really like this design. It's reminiscent of the Five Nights at Freddy's video that I did with Roxy, but I feel like this fixes a lot of the issues that I ran into with that design. I get that it may feel repetitive. It may feel like I'm taking a lot of the things that are similar from that design and just applying them over here, but I consider this a learning experience. That wasn't one of my favorite designs. Some of you guys really loved it, and I'm glad you did. I liked some aspects of it too, but if I could go back, I'd make a lot of changes. And I kind of got that opportunity with this design to go back and make those changes. So check out that video and let me know which you prefer of our werewolf wolf type Pokemon, whether it be our Roxanne Wolf from our Five Nights at Freddy's video or Luna from this one. I'm gonna be honest, and it's because I just want to be honest with you guys, it's this one. This is one of my favorite designs that I've done. And it's a shame that it falls under the category of being furry bait, as well as maybe not a shame. It was designed, she was designed in the show very much to fit that certain character trope. So yeah, I feel like maybe we've succeeded. It feels like a win? Maybe? I don't know. All I know is I really dig this design. I hope you do too. And yeah, Luna was a fun character. I knew going in at the very beginning, God, I'm gonna have to draw Luna as a Pokemon, and that's gonna make some people very happy and maybe upset others. So this is Lunatrix, the normal fighting Pokemon. Again, could have been dark type. It's trying to stray away from it, but there wasn't much I could do design-wise to keep away from the dark typing. For the shiny, I went with that basic black and white husky type of look, and that's all of our Pokemon today. And as usual, a big thanks to Soren Frost, Styx TV, Jesse Badger, Teacup Cryptid, and Dan Bush for being a part of the higher tiers of Patreon. You guys are phenomenal. So yeah, sounds like you know where to find me. Catch you in the next one. Bye!